Okay, thank you. Well, welcome to the October eighth, 2024 Public Services Committee meeting. A little housekeeping, if you have a cell phone, please mute it or turn it off. When you approach the podium to speak, push the button so the red light comes on and so you can be recorded, and identify yourself, please. Okay, clerk, first item.
Number 6, ordinance third reading, amending the Unified Development Code UDC of the City of Cheyenne, Wyoming to create BP Business Park Zone District and making conforming amendments to locations throughout the UDC referencing zone districts, and amending the UDC to correct references associated with the SS Support Services District.
Staff report.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, my name is Seth Lloyd. I'm with the Planning and Development Department. This BP zone district is on third reading and there are no updates from second reading. It passed unanimously. Planning Commission did recommend approval of this item, and I'm available for any questions.
Okay, any questions for committee? Questions from committee? Okay, hearing none. Public comment. Public comment. Okay, hearing none. May I have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, approval of third and final reading.
Second. I have a motion is second. Any comments or questions from committee? Comments or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Okay, next item.
Number 12, resolution expressing the support of the governing body for the city engineer to execute certain temporary construction easements on behalf of the city of Cheyenne associated with the Story Boulevard and Summit Drive Extension Project and the East Del Range Construction Project.
Okay, staff report.
Chairman Roybal, Tom Cobb, all members of the Public Services Committee, Tom Cobb, City Engineer. Before you and for your consideration is obviously for me to execute certain easements, temporary, in this case for construction. What we had done in the past, and you saw that this has occurred before, we had multiple documents with very little money associated with it, under $250, to be able to get temporary construction easements on all these properties when we go through these projects. And these specific projects right now, we're looking at Story Boulevard extension and the East Del Range construction as well. So it is anticipated this will save both council and staff a lot of time, and our energy will be focused on things that are much more important. These again are temporary construction easements where we have fill slopes or other pieces and parts. Anything permanent, we would come in front of the governing body on these two components. And moving forward, I would like to at least get looking at revising the municipal code to make this a more permanent condition on these construction projects. Because again, these are temporary in nature. If with that, I'll take any questions you might have of me.
Okay, any questions from committee? Questions from committee? Okay, any public comment? Public comment. Hearing none, may I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Motion is second. Any comments or questions from committee? Comments or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Okay,
Number 13A, an appeal of the Planning Commission denial of the preliminary plat for Edgar subdivision, a replat of a portion of Lot 9, Block 4, Viewpoint North, second filing, City of Cheyenne, Laramie County, Wyoming, located at 5192 Panorama Drive. Appealed by applicant pursuant to UDC 2.1.2.C.6.B.
B. Okay, staff report.
Good morning, staff. Athen Morris, Planning and Development. This project is at 5192 Panorama Drive for 2.73 acres of land. I do want to correct something in the staff report. The original lots was 12 lots. It has been revised to 11 lots after the applicant has resubmitted that. I do want to add at the September 3rd meeting, Planning and Commission did deny this motion of a vote to 3-1 for not meeting review criteria 1 and 8, which was ultimately buildability of lots and compatibility within the surrounding neighborhood. The applicant is here today, and they at the Planning Commission, after the Planning Commission meeting, decided to file an appeal for the plat. And so that is what we're discussing today. If there's any questions, staff is available. Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments or questions from committee?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Seagrave.
through you, what is staff's recommendation?
Staff recommends approval. with-
That's what I read.
yes, staff recommends approval for the plat.
So you don't have any issues with compatibility or?
When staff looked at it, no, we did not have any issues.
Thank you.
Mr. Laborn, any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So could you summarize the issues that were so significant here that the planning commission felt that they had to deny it?
The biggest issues that were listed were the topography of the landscape. The comments that were brought up at the commission was that it would be unbuildable on the topography, which is the review criteria 2 it did not meet. And according to the commission, and then for the review criteria 8 that it did not meet, they did not believe it blended with the existing characteristic of the neighborhood due to the lot sizes.
So maybe my memory isn't quite that great, but haven't we had this come before us quite a while back about this very area and this?
I can't recall if I was here when it was, but I will.
Let's go to
take
the
a-
expert, please.
Yep.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, looking at the files, it appears that a subdivision was submitted probably in the early 2000s for this property. So it was a while ago, very pre-UDC, pre any current planning and development staff. And I just happened upon that looking up something else, but yes, it was something similar to this was submitted back in that era.
And it seems, seem to recall that we took some action on it and approved it. Is that right?
Mr. Chair, I didn't look in as that in depth of the record. It looked like they had a denial for at least a variance. I assumed that other elements of the project had been denied as well, but honestly, I did not investigate that too in depth.
Thank you.
And Mr. Lloyd, I have a question. One of the denials was topography. In looking at the overhead here, which area were they talking on?
So, Mr. Chair, through you, or to you, actually, the property there has a pretty significant slope going from the street back to the back of the property. I like to say that with modern engineering, we can do just about anything. It's just a matter of cost effectiveness. And so the question really is not can you do it, it's can you do it cost effectively? And the planning commission was concerned that that wasn't a feasible scenario to do it, that they weren't confident that the applicant could do it cost effectively.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments from committee? Mr. Seagrave.
Cost effectiveness, that's really not our choice or decision, is it? I mean, that's up to the developer. If they can't make it work, they're not gonna build it.
Mr. Chair, it would be preferable to not have plats that don't get executed afterward. We do have a number of plats around the community where people put lot lines and streets on the ground and never built them out. So it'd be preferable to know that ahead of time. But at the end of the day, it would be on the governing body's discretion whether or not to review a project based on that criteria. I would note this is a preliminary plat, so if that's a concern, we can make it a condition of the preliminary plat, and then they will come back with a final plat with better detail.
Mr. Chair, one more question. You had a couple of conditions. Do you want, if we decide to move this forward, do you want those conditions or is that for the final?
Sorry, it's been a while, Mr. Chair. I actually don't recall the conditions.
Okay, one is correct name. The other is exception to block size.
Mr. Chair, they will need an exception for block sizes at the preliminary plat level. The correcting the names and the notaries type stuff, that's on the final plat, face of the final plat, not on the face of the preliminary plat. So that doesn't need to be a condition. They just need to submit, when they submit the final, assuming this goes forward, they would need to submit a correct final plat. And if the final plat is corrected, then we would have no need for a condition, or we could put that condition on the final plat if that's not corrected.
So just
Just the exception to block sizes.
just an
Yep.
exception. All right.
Any further questions or comments from the committee?
Mr. Chairman, this is really odd because I had Dr. Rennie not participating, but he has his hand raised. So he's not participating as part of the committee. I guess he's part of the public.
So we'll wait till the public. comment.
Okay.
Okay. Any further questions or comments from sitting committee? Okay, hearing none. Any public comment?
Dr. Rennie, would you like to speak at this time?
Maybe he's on airplane mode.
Although, yeah, with the reduction in lots from 12 to 11, did that change the size of the lots?
Seth? Or, yeah, with the reduction of lots from 12 to 11, did that affect the lot size?
Mr. Chair, yes, it did.
Did you get that, Dr. Rennie?
I did, Mr. Chairman, so I assume the lots are slightly larger now.
I'm getting head nods, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Good. Public comment.
Where is he?
You know,
All right. Good afternoon. My name is Brooke Bolgren. I'm with Imberg Miller Engineers, and we've been working with the applicant or the owner on this project and addressing the topography issues. We have a engineering plan review submitted to the city, and it's currently under review. It includes overlot grading and some retaining walls that would be needed to provide building lots and buildable space for housing in that area. So I'd be happy to answer any other questions.
Mr. Chairman. I'd like to see that, so I guess I could get that from the engineering.
Yes,
Correct?
you should be able to.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I move to overturn the planning commission's decision to deny the preliminary plat.
Second,
Do we need to do the exception to block size? Yes. My motion included the exception to block size.
yes, I second that.
Yes, addition one.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I think we can see that there are some issues here that can be worked out in this preliminary plat and proceed with this to the final plat with a better understanding of why the planning commission took this position, but I think we ought to move this forward and see if we couldn't get these issues resolved. Thank you.
Any further comments, questions from committee? Hearing that, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Other items for the agenda, number A development agreement between the city, South Cheyenne Water and Sewer District, Cheyenne Fox Farm Village LLC, and Cheyenne Fox Farm LLC for sanitary sewer service.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee.
Mhm.
Just first of all, I just want to apologize. I really tried to limit the other items for the agenda to things that are just really time sensitive
I'm
that.
sorry, sir, could you identify
Oh,
yourself?
I apologize. I'm Mayor Patrick Collins. You're right. We try to limit those to things that are very time sensitive and, but we have two items for you today that are time sensitive and we're asking for your indulgence and to do that. Mr. Chairman, over the years, as the city has grown, we've grown closer and closer to the boundaries of the Southside Water and Sewer District. And what's happening now is there are properties that are kind of sandwiched in between our two utilities. These properties are finding it difficult to meet the challenge of doing the water and sewer and figure out how they're going to serve those issues. So today what we have before us is a property that's inside the city limits and water is very readily available for that development. The Board of Public Utilities is right there, but the sewer is not. And so the developer could spend, more than $1 million and build a parallel sewer line, or they can hook into a South Cheyenne Water and Sewer District line that's right there in Fox Farm Road. And that would save more than $1 million and allow this development to move forward in a fundamentally affordable way. To me, it makes no sense to make a developer build a multi-million-dollar or multi-million-dollar sewer line when there's a utility right there next door that all parties are willing to allow them to use it. We've been working with the South Cheyenne Water and Sewer District to update our master agreements. Mr. Grateful at 6 months now? Yeah, at least 6 months now. And part of that agreement allows for these kind of mixed use where the city would provide one and the South Cheyenne Water and Sewer District would provide the other. The problem is that while our negotiations are going really well, I don't think we'll have that agreement done until sometime this winter. And the developer is asking for us to bring this agreement before you today because they would like to get 31 basements dug. They're doing a kind of a unique townhome rental development, and they have a significant number built, but the current sewer can't handle anymore. And so they'd like to build 31 more basements this year and work on those homes over the winter. So the next spring we'll have more homes for Cheyenne. So what this agreement does is it sets out the responsibilities for each party. It allows for 31 homes to be built right away by the developer. It talks about the necessary upgrades that would be done to the Southside Water and Sewer District's lines would be negotiated between the developer and the Southside Water and Sewer District, because the goal would be over the next year to build another up to 200 more units on this site. Again, we would provide the water from the Board of Public Utilities, but the sewer system would be done by the South Cheyenne Water and Sewer District. So basically what this is what we hope will happen in the future with our new agreement. We're just trying to get out ahead of it beforehand so that we can get some homes built this fall. And I would answer any questions that you might have. And if you, I think everybody's here from the different groups. If you have any specific questions for the developer or our Board of Public Utilities.
Okay. Any comments or questions from committee? Comments or questions? Is there somebody here from the Southside Water and Sewer District?
I don't see anybody, no, sir.
Okay, but they're in agreement of this?
They are. Yeah.
Okay.
We sat down with Mr. Jim Rich, who's the president of their board of directors, a number of times now to work through all these issues, and all the parties are in agreement to the terms.
Okay. Any further? Any comments, questions?
And actually, I would just tell you guys, it's kind of exciting for me that, we're working so well with, we're talking about building homes and developing our community, that all these different groups that not always worked so well together are working really well together today in order to be able to help a developer be successful, bring housing to our community. I think it's a win for everybody.
Okay, thank you. Any public comment?
Council members, Brett Emmons, AVI, agent for the applicant. Just wanted to add a couple other things that are moving through. This is going in front of the board, the South Cheyenne's board Thursday. So there will be a vote from them before your meeting on Monday night. So not only is it going through this process, but it's going through their process as well. And then just want to thank the staff at the city for helping us work through this. Not only are the upfront costs way more, but the long-term maintenance costs. I think that, we often look at the initial cost of something, but when you have to install long sewer mains for very few homes, that puts a burden on all the ratepayers in town because you don't have enough people on that line to keep it maintained. So not only does it help on the upfront costs, but it also helps on the long-term costs of maintenance. So be happy to answer any other questions.
Any questions for committee? Okay, after a quick visitation for Kermit the Frog here, so any public comment? Hearing none, may I have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve.
Second.
So a motion, the second. Any comments or questions from committee?
Mr. Chairman, I just back up what the mayor said. It's kind of exciting to see these groups working together finally. It's been a long time and it's just great that we're finally able to do some of these things. So I appreciate it very much.
Any further comments or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Letter B, memorandum of understanding between the City of Cheyenne and Habitat for Humanity of Laramie County Incorporated for management of grant funding for the Pronghorn Crossing Affordable Housing Project.
Mr.
Staff
Chairman,
report.
Mayor Collins again.
Okay.
Thank you. And again, thanks for letting us put another item on your agenda. The city was really fortunate here this last year to get a $1.8 million ARPA grant from the state of Wyoming to provide infrastructure to assist the Habitat for Humanity in building 12 affordable housing units at their Pronghorn Crossing site on Story Boulevard. One of the conditions of the state for their grant was the money needed to be under contract by October 1st of this year. Well, it's past October 1st, but because the contract was on our agenda, the state gave us a little bit of grace on that. During the Finance Committee meeting yesterday, the committee had a little bit of a challenge in trying to figure out how to make the motion. The bid for the work came in a little bit above the amount that the grant was, a couple $100,000 more than the grant. And they were trying to figure out what funding source to use to fund the deficit. It was my intention that the deficit would be funded by Habitat for Humanity. That's our agreement, that we're the pass-through on this grant, and that the anything that the grant didn't pay for, Habitat would. But because we didn't have an MOU or an agreement with Habitat, the Finance Committee was nervous about you putting that onto the document. So they put the 6-penny sales tax grant match as a funding source. My concern is, if our intention is to have Habitat pay for any overrun costs and we put a city funding source there, it could be confusing down the road. And so yesterday we got together with everybody in the group and we put together an MOU that would address that. And basically what the MOU says is that we have a grant, and that anything above that grant will become the responsibility of Habitat for Humanity by either value engineering, reducing some of the things on their list, or they can bring money to the table, however. But it does limit our responsibility to the amount of the grant. And so I'd ask for your support for the MOU so that we can Monday go before the governing body, and we'll pass this MOU before we pass the contract, and we'll have an MOU in place with everybody that's involved. And again, a great project. This was a piece of property that was pretty much undevelopable, and because of financial reasons, there's just no infrastructure in the area. The developer gave this property to Habitat for Humanity, hoping that there would be some public money that would someday come forward that would allow for the sewer line to be built that would allow us to be able to service this. And that was my intention going into it, was we'd ask for money for a service line, sewer line, but the state had quite a bit of money. And so we asked them if they would support the infrastructure for most of this project, and they said yes. And so we're going to be able to bring 12 affordable housing units online with the grant that we have here today. But the key is we've got to get it passed on Monday. Otherwise, there's a chance that the state would ask for their money back, and this project would not come to fruition. So I'm here to answer any questions, but really the true expert on this is Renee Smith. I believe she's here and can answer any of the technical questions on the grant and exactly how this would all work. Thank you for allowing us to do this.
Renee, would you like to give a staff report also?
Good afternoon, Renee Smith, Economic Resource Administrator. I would just, for one thing, like to say ditto. Everything he just said was sort of my report, but I can give you a little bit more background as to how we plan to value engineer this down so that the cost to Habitat is not at something that will be debilitating for them. We do have $150,000 in the force account, which automatically reduces that by half. And then we were also looking at, there's some deferred sidewalks and drain pans that can be done maybe when they do the vertical build. So our plan is to get all this infrastructure in by next summer. And then Dan's got a plan with his crew with Habitat to come in and start working the build for the next couple of years to get these lots done. So that's a cost saving of another $87,450. We're also looking at working with Board of Public Utilities and maybe adjusting the sanitary sewer line depth, which can save an additional 20,000. So really, the burden on Habitat at this point is now around $40,000, but the team is still continuing to work. And one last thing, I think that the mayor did speak about, how urgent this is, but what he doesn't realize, he does realize, but big shout out to city staff, to Levis Engineering, to all of the folks that made this happen. We didn't get our contract from the state until June. And so at that point, we started with the design and construction, trying to meet this deadline of October to get that contract in place. So it just a monumental amount of work by a lot of people in the engineering department. Really amazing. So I'm very proud of this effort, but we appreciate your, allowing us to present this in such a unusual way. So, but if you do have questions about the project, happy to share.
Okay, Mr. Seagrave.
Through you, sir. Renee, I just want to hear again that the city is not going to be on the hook for any of this additional funds. We're simply a pass-through on this project. Is that correct? Is that my understanding? I mean, these other things you're talking about, it's not going to affect us as the city at all. It's more Habitat. The value
Mr. Chair,
engineering.
correct. We are, because it's a reimbursable grant, that the project is being run through the city. So when the money runs out, it is in the MOU that is the end of our obligation. We do not have any further obligation beyond the amount of grant that we received. So at that point, it would trigger either a shifting of cost to Habitat or a halt in the project where they will then fund and figure out after that point. But yes, that is correct. There is no further obligation to the city once grant funds are done.
Thank you.
Mr. Laborn, anything?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm not sure if Smith is the right person or
Just
Perhaps-
ask your question and we'll get the right person.
okay. The term affordable means what in terms of actual cost to the eventual purchaser?
So, Mr. Chair, through you, I'm sure Dan will come up, but again, these will be Habitat homes. So that in itself is an assurance.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Dan Dorsch, Executive Director for Habitat for Humanity of Laramie County. Mr. Chairman, through you to Council Member Laborn's questions. Our home prices and our mortgages are based on what the homeowner can afford. We serve right now 30 to 60% of the area median income. They go through an application process and are pre-qualified by pro bono through a mortgage lender that we work with here in town to make sure that they can afford the mortgage, because that's the whole point, is offering a hand up, not a handout. They pay a 30-year, 0% mortgage and solely based on their income. I'll use our last home build as an example. We did our veterans build for Thomas Redding. His income told us that he could afford $144,000. That's what his mortgage was based on. Because we act as the bank, we do get a fair market appraisal. That appraisal came in at $240,000. His mortgage is only based on $144,000. We write in a second soft forgivable mortgage for that difference between his mortgage and the appraisal. So that's how we keep our mortgages affordable. It's not based on the cost for us to build. It's based on their ability to pay what they can for that mortgage. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any follow-ups, Mr. Seagrave?
No,
Mr. Seagrave?
Oh, good.
Any further public comment? Public comment? Got halfway back, huh?
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Dan Dorsch, Executive Director for Habitat for Humanity of Laramie County. I just wanted to take this opportunity to say thank you for the city and the staff and everyone involved with this project. As mentioned, there was a tight timeline, so we did not lose these ARPA funds. I just read an article yesterday about another city in Wyoming who unfortunately lost their ARPA funds because they didn't have the staff and the capacity and the time to put this together. So I just want to take this opportunity to say that we at Habitat, my board, myself and my staff are extremely grateful for the opportunity to work with the city and your consideration for this MOU and this project. Thank you so much.
Okay, any further public comment? public comment? Hearing none, may I have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any comments or questions from committee? Comments or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. Being as there's no further business between the Public Services Committee, we are adjourned.
I think this was-